"Time's up," the host shouted, his voice echoing through the massive competition hall. The sound sent a wave of tension through the room. Dozens of chefs immediately stepped away from their cooking stations, wiping their hands on their aprons as the final seconds of the Ultimate Cook-Off 2025 ticked away. The judges began walking slowly from table to table, tasting each dish with serious, focused expressions. The theme of the competition had been announced earlier that morning: create a vegetable-based meal that was unique, creative, and rarely seen. Many contestants had chosen complicated dishes: vegetable curries, stuffed peppers, and fancy salads layered with exotic ingredients. But I had chosen something simpler, something unexpected. For my entry, I created a dish I called carrot spaghetti. It wasn't traditional pasta, but it looked like it. I carefully picked up my plate and adjusted the presentation one last time. Bright orange carrot strands were twirled neatly in the center, glistening under the competition lights. The idea had come to me late at night while experimenting in my kitchen. I wanted to create something healthy, fresh, and beautiful, using ingredients that people often overlooked. To prepare it, I first selected the freshest carrots I could find, firm, vibrant, and naturally sweet. I washed them thoroughly under cool running water, trimming off the tops and bottoms. Then I carefully scraped away the outer skin to reveal the smooth surface underneath. Using a potato peeler, I slowly shaved the carrots into long, delicate curls that resembled spaghetti noodles. The curls fell softly into the bowl like ribbons. After that, I prepared the light dressing. I added a spoonful of creamy mayonnaise, a small dash of olive oil, a pinch of sea salt, and freshly ground black pepper. Then I gently tossed everything together until the carrot strands were evenly coated. The smell was light and refreshing. Simple, but elegant. Anna's signature carrot spaghetti. Ingredients: 3 large fresh carrots, 2 tablespoons mayonnaise, 1 teaspoon olive oil, 1/2 teaspoon salt, 1/2 teaspoon black pepper. Instructions: wash and peel the carrots thoroughly. Use a vegetable peeler to slice them into long, thin strands. Place the carrot strands into a bowl. Add mayonnaise, olive oil, salt, and black pepper. Toss gently until the carrots are evenly coated. Plate neatly and serve fresh. The judges finally reached my table. My heart began pounding in my chest. One of the judges leaned forward and lifted a forkful of the carrot spaghetti. The orange ribbons twirled around the fork before disappearing into his mouth. Another judge tasted it next. Then another. None of them said anything. They simply nodded and moved on. I swallowed nervously. The next few minutes felt like hours as the judges finished tasting every dish in the room. Contestants whispered among themselves while the audience murmured with excitement. Finally, the host returned to the stage holding a golden envelope. The entire room fell silent. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced dramatically, "the judges have made their decision." My hands were shaking. "And the winner of the Ultimate Cook-Off 2025 is..." He paused. "Chef Anna." For a moment, I just stood there clapping with the rest of the crowd. Then it hit me. I was Anna. I had won. My eyes widened in disbelief as people around me began cheering and pushing me gently toward the stage. I walked forward slowly, my heart racing. Pride filled my chest as I accepted the trophy from the host. The golden surface sparkled under the lights, reflecting the moment I had dreamed about for years. Becoming a chef had always been my dream. It started when I was a little girl. My father owned a large five-star restaurant, one of the busiest places in the city. I spent most of my childhood there, running through the kitchen while chefs chopped vegetables, stirred sauces, and flipped pans over roaring flames. The air was always filled with incredible smells: garlic sizzling in butter, spices warming in hot oil, freshly baked bread cooling on the counter. That kitchen felt like magic to me. I watched the chefs carefully, memorizing every movement. How they chopped onions quickly without crying, how they balanced flavors, how they turned simple ingredients into unforgettable meals. My father always told me that one day I could work there if I wanted. But I refused. I didn't want people to say I only became a chef because of my father. I wanted to earn it myself. That was why I joined the Ultimate Cook-Off. Winning this competition wasn't just a prize. It was my first step toward my ultimate goal: becoming a chef in a world-class Michelin restaurant. A few days after the competition, something unexpected happened. My phone rang. The number was unfamiliar. "Hello?" I answered cautiously. "Is this Anna?" a calm male voice asked. "Yes. Who's this?" "My name is Ethan," he replied. "I'm calling on behalf of my boss." His voice sounded serious, almost intimidating. For a moment, I wondered if I had done something wrong. "Your boss?" I asked slowly. "Yes," he continued. "We've been watching the Ultimate Cook-Off competition, and my boss was very impressed by your creativity." My heart skipped a beat. "He would like to offer you a position as his personal chef." I blinked. Wait, what? I genuinely thought it was a prank. "This is real," Ethan said calmly, as if he could hear the disbelief in my voice. "And if you accept the job, I'll come pick you up tomorrow morning." I didn't know what to say. A part of me had imagined working in a bustling restaurant kitchen, not cooking privately for someone. But at the same time, this felt like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I took a deep breath. "All right," I finally said. "I'll be ready." When the call ended, I sat quietly for a moment, staring at my phone. My life was about to change. And somehow, deep inside, I had a feeling this was only the beginning of a much bigger story. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. For a moment, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying Ethan's words from the night before. "My boss wants you to be his personal chef." My stomach fluttered with nerves and excitement. I quickly sat up and checked the time. It was still early, but I didn't want to risk being late on my first day. Today felt important. Very important. I got out of bed and opened my closet, scanning through my clothes carefully. After a few minutes of thinking, I chose my best coat. Simple but professional. I wanted to look confident, even though inside I felt anything but calm. Then I walked over to my kitchen counter and picked up my knife roll. Inside were the knives I had saved money for over the years. My chef's knife, a small paring knife, and a vegetable slicer. They weren't the most expensive tools in the world, but they were mine, and I trusted them completely. I took a deep breath before leaving the house. This wasn't just another cooking job. This was a new chapter of my life. A black car was already waiting outside when I stepped out. Ethan sat in the driver's seat. He lowered the window slightly and gave me a short nod. "Ready?" he asked. "Yes," I replied, trying to sound more confident than I felt. He didn't say much as I got into the car. In fact, the entire drive was almost completely silent. Ethan seemed like the type of person who only spoke when necessary. As we drove through the quiet streets of the city, my mind filled with questions. What kind of boss would I be working for? Was he strict? Demanding? Hard to please? Or maybe he was someone who didn't care much about food at all. The thought made me nervous. Cooking for someone personally meant every dish mattered. Every flavor mattered. There would be no hiding behind a restaurant team. It would just be me. After about 30 minutes, the car slowly turned into a long driveway. Tall iron gates opened automatically. My eyes widened. Beyond the gate stood a massive mansion surrounded by perfectly trimmed gardens and tall trees. The house itself looked like something out of a luxury magazine. The windows were tall and elegant, and the driveway curved around a beautiful fountain. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. "This is where he lives?" I asked quietly. Ethan nodded. "Yes." I stepped out of the car slowly, taking in the view. This wasn't just a house. It was luxury, power, and wealth all wrapped together. Inside, the atmosphere was just as impressive. The floors were polished marble, reflecting the soft light from the chandeliers above. The air smelled faintly of fresh flowers, leather furniture, and something else I couldn't quite describe. Something powerful. Something that made it clear that the owner of this house was not an ordinary man. Ethan walked ahead of me confidently. "Come with me," he said. He led me through several hallways until we finally reached the kitchen. And when I saw it, my jaw almost dropped. The kitchen was enormous. Smooth marble countertops stretched across the room, and the shelves were filled with professional cooking equipment. There were high-end ovens, shiny stainless steel appliances, and more cooking tools than I had ever seen in one place. It was every chef's dream. "Wait here," Ethan said. "He'll be down in a moment." I nodded nervously. Once he left, I stood quietly in the middle of the kitchen, trying to calm my racing thoughts. A few minutes later, Ethan returned. "He's not home," he said casually. "He's probably still at work." "Oh," I said, slightly surprised. "Should I still cook?" "Yes," he replied. "Go ahead. You're free to leave once you're done, even if he hasn't returned yet." That made me feel a little more relaxed. I walked toward the refrigerator and opened it slowly. My eyes widened again. It was filled with every ingredient imaginable. Fresh vegetables, different types of meat, sauces, herbs, dairy products, fruits, and spices. It was like stepping into a chef's paradise. Before starting, I turned to Ethan. Is there anything he's allergic to? I asked. Or anything he doesn't like? Ethan leaned against the counter and thought for a moment. He's allergic to peanuts and seafood, he said. And he doesn't like too many vegetables. That information immediately started shaping ideas in my mind. I thought carefully for a moment before deciding on something simple, comforting, and balanced. Rice with soft-boiled eggs, sautéed plantains, and tender-cooked carrots. A meal that was warm, nutritious, and easy to enjoy after a long day. Anna's comfort plate. Ingredients: 1 cup white rice, 2 cups water, 2 eggs, 1 ripe plantain, 1 carrot, 1 tablespoon cooking oil, a pinch of salt. Instructions: rinse the rice under cold water until the water runs clear. Bring 2 cups of water to a boil and add the rice with a pinch of salt. Reduce the heat and cook for about 20 minutes until the rice becomes soft and fluffy. Next, I prepared the eggs. I placed them carefully into boiling water and let them cook for 7 minutes, just enough for the yolks to remain slightly soft. After removing them, I placed them in cold water before gently peeling the shells away. Then I moved on to the plantains. I peeled the ripe plantain and sliced it into medium-sized pieces. Heating a small amount of oil in a frying pan, I placed the slices into the pan. They began to sizzle immediately. Within minutes, they turned golden brown, slightly crispy on the edges, and sweet in aroma. Finally, I sliced the carrots and boiled them in lightly salted water for about 10 minutes until they became tender. When everything was ready, I carefully plated the meal. The fluffy rice sat in the center, the soft-boiled eggs beside it, with golden plantains and tender carrots completing the plate. It looked simple, but comforting. Perfect for someone returning home from a long day. Since Ethan had told me the boss might return late, I transferred the food into a microwave-safe dish, covered it neatly, and placed it inside the refrigerator. As I finished cleaning the counter, I noticed something on the side table. A small notepad. Ethan's phone number was scribbled across the top. I picked up my phone and dialed it. "Hello?" he answered. "Hi, it's Anna," I said. "I finished cooking. I'm heading out now." "All right," he replied calmly. "You did well." There was a small pause before he added, "Let's see how he likes it." I hung up the phone and took one last look around the kitchen. Walking out of the mansion, I had no idea that the meal I had just prepared would soon become my first real test in this new world, and that this mysterious boss would soon change my life in ways I never expected. The next morning, I was walking toward a restaurant when something unusual caught my attention. A small crowd had gathered outside the entrance. People were talking excitedly. Curious. I stepped closer, and then I saw it. A massive banner stretched across the street. 7-Star Michelin Culinary Challenge. Apply now. My heart skipped. A cooking competition? I didn't even hesitate. I walked straight toward the registration booth. "Application form, please." The woman behind the desk handed me a clipboard. Within minutes, I had filled everything out and submitted it. As I walked away, I felt a strange rush of excitement. Maybe this was exactly the challenge I needed. That same evening, my phone buzzed again. I opened the message. Congratulations. You've qualified for the next round. Please arrive tomorrow at 10 a.m. My eyes widened. That fast? I laughed quietly to myself. If this competition worked out, it could change everything. The next day, I walked into the restaurant and handed in my resignation. The owner looked sad but understanding. You're leaving already? I got an opportunity I can't ignore, I said. He smiled warmly. Then go chase it. I'm proud of you. Later that evening, I was still thinking about the competition when someone knocked on my apartment door. I opened it casually, then nearly screamed. Lisa? My childhood friend stood there with a huge grin on her face. Surprise! I stared at her in shock. What are you doing here? She laughed. It's almost New Year's, remember? I pulled her into a tight hug. I can't believe you're here. But the surprises weren't finished yet. The next morning, before I could even brush my teeth, there was another knock at the door. When I opened it, I froze. My parents? My mother immediately pulled me into a hug. Behind her stood my father, my brother, and Arthur. Arthur had been our family friend for years. He had driven my brother to the airport before traveling to Canada himself. Seeing everyone together made my eyes fill with tears. Everyone I loved. In one place. For a moment, I wished the day could just stop there. But I couldn't stay long. I still had to confirm my participation in the cooking competition. At the registration center, they verified my documents and explained the next steps. You'll begin next week, the organizer told me. I nodded excitedly. Everything felt like it was finally moving forward. But on my way home, my phone buzzed again. A message from Lee. I want to take you somewhere. Meet me. He attached an address. Curious, I headed there. But the moment I arrived, I froze. My eyes slowly lifted toward the large iron gates, the long driveway, the familiar garden path. My heart dropped. This place, it was the mansion. Confused, I stepped inside. The door opened quietly, and someone was already sitting in the living room, waiting for me. At that moment, a strange feeling settled in my chest. Something big was about to happen. And deep down, I prayed it wasn't what I was starting to suspect.